Hi, my name is Alyssa. The date is December 13th, 2017, and I'm going to be discussing my final presentation for my Capstone course 4880 at Youngstown State University. Okay, so first off, there's two components to this project. There was a hybrid model SDLC development, and then there was a second part, which is a project proposal for the NRI. So first I'm going to be talking about my hybrid model SDLC model. So the requirements for that were to take 5 different models, waterfall, spiral, rapid prototyping, agile, and object-oriented analysis and design. Okay, so I came up with 7 different phases. Phase 1 is planning and analysis. Phase 2, design. Phase 3 is development. Phase 4 is testing. Phase 5 is evaluation, Phase 6 is implementation, and Phase 7 is maintenance. So I'm going to go a little bit more in depth about those. So for Phase 1 is the planning and analysis. So I consider that the what of the project. For this phase, I incorporated some methods from object-oriented, the waterfall, and the spiral model. So for this, the planning and the analysis are going to be done at the same time. The goal for this is to create functional system without constraint consideration. So that would be such as technological or research things. Those won't be considered immediately. They would just try to develop a process to solve the problem. How to do this, you would use use case diagrams to lay out the system. Abstract definition of requirements of the most important objects or aspects within the project. So similar to waterfall and other methods, you would define the requirements in this phase. Similar setups and start as waterfall, it would begin with defining the requirements. And then similar to the iterative and the spiral models, the planning and analysis begin and are conducted at the same time. So phase 2, the design, which this is the how. So I incorporated some methods from object-oriented, spiral, and agile models. You begin by defining the how of the project. So you would start by refining the analysis that was done in the prior step. In this phase, you would make the technology and other implementation choices for going forward within the project. Emphasis on this phase is describing relationships, behaviors between requirements and the terms of the project as a whole. So this could be for smaller portions of the project or for the project as a whole. You would define these now. For the agile aspect, similar, it begins shortly after planning and analysis begins. This allows the ability to plan iterations or sprints and lay out the timeline for the project. Similar to the spiral model, portions or iterations will move back and forth between design and planning to evaluate and ensure that the two are in alignment to move forward with the project. The project as a whole should be planned out first. The plan is devised to set up iterations or smaller parts within the project. Once the first iteration is completed, it can move on to the development and to the development teams. So these things will be done together at the same time. In the how, if they're in the design process and they come up with something that needs to be changed, they can then go back to the planning and implement that there for moving forward. So planning and design teams will then begin on the next iterations and preparing them for development. So phase 3 is development. This includes some methods from spiral, agile, waterfall, and rapid application development. In this phase, there are already clearly defined requirements and they allow for the easy transition into development. So laying these out earlier on in the projects helps the developers know exactly what's going to be in the development phase going forward. Gives programmers and developments that in-depth information that they need to begin working. The product designs and iterations within the larger project can begin to be developed concurrently based on the amount of team members and workload. The process moves down the ladder similar like the waterfall method does from one phase to another. Incremental and collaborative similar to spiral and agile methodologies. And then methodologies within this also relate to the rapid application development by rapidly pushing towards a testable product that can be tested and continue to be expanded upon. Okay, so phase 4. The testing will be done within within a two-step process. Developers will unit test products as they build them. This will ensure that simple code errors and other functional requirements run as they should. So these will be the smaller parts within the project. As they're building them, they will be testing them and just making sure they function as they're being created. Next, users will begin testing as well, also known as user acceptance training. So these users will be your business users or your clients. So taking methodologies from Agile and rapid application development, we have contact and we're staying in communication with the business users. That way they're involved in the project as it's going along. And involving these users highly increases the communication and collaboration between the technical teams and the business partners or clients. They develop and test processes at the same time that ensure that spiral model practices can reduce the risk of problems down the line. So addressing these now will save time rather than these problems being encountered later on down the line and having to go back and restart all over again. Rapid application development, again, is risk reduced. It decreases the need for over-complex solutions later on. It allows to find problems early on in the development process and within smaller aspects and adjust and react to them accordingly. Within the testing, this is also based on the values of the Agile model, which include individuals and interactions. So that pushes towards communication and collaboration between the developers and the business users. Creating a working software. So this is more useful than excessive documentation that is sometimes done in the requirements. So they focus more on actually creating the software rather than just documenting what it should be. Customer collaboration, similar to the individual interaction. This allows for the product to be adjusted with feedback as it progresses. And then responding to change. So quick response and continual development will be occurring throughout the phases. So the users can use and react and provide feedback as they're testing. This saves time compared to traditional methods of defining issues and creating new highly structured requirement documents. So problems are also documented, but issues will remain between testing and development unless bigger project scope as a whole issues arise. So once the bugs and business process errors have been tweaked and corrected, the iteration will flow into the evaluation phase of the process. I just wanted to point out again that the test and development phases do work similar to the spiral model, where they go back and double check each other and they work concurrently. So if there is an issue between one, it will not move on to the next phase until both are in compliance with one another. All right. So phase 5 is evaluation. Similar to the Agile model, there will be daily stand-up meetings to discuss project progress and roadblocks. So within these daily stand-up meetings, all members of the team, including partners from other areas of the business, will participate or at least listen in to gather information about the project at the time being. So these are held daily and they just bring everybody together, get everybody on the same page so they know what's going on with the project. The project as a whole will be evaluated. Iterations or smaller portions or products within the project will be evaluated based on feedback from testing. They also lay out what's going on and what iterations are in each phase. Project managers and other business users will also be involved. They help with discussing project roadblocks and other issues that face the project as a whole and not directly targeted to any smaller teams. So just talking about the project as a whole rather than specific issues helps to save everybody time. Going too in-depth sometimes about certain issues will waste the people's time who aren't necessarily working on those projects and they just are more interested about what's going on over the whole SDLC model, not just in specific areas. So similar to rapid application development, information can be gained in the process of the project and can later be used to reinvent the solution. This would depend on the project size and scope, but it could possibly be used as a new iteration or added aspect to the project to improve functionality. So as things are being developed and created, the developers and business users may realize there's a simpler way to do it, there's a better way to improve this. So because they're actually doing it themselves and they're involved with the project, they may come up with a new way to solve the problem. Once these iterations have been evaluated and meet all previously discussed requirements that were defined earlier on, that are ready to move on to the implementation. At this stage, if in the evaluation process an issue arises with the product or stakeholders decide a change needs to be made, this iteration will then fall back into the design and planning phases of the model. So the changes at this point should be pretty minimal and additive and should not drastically change the product, since they've already been through design and testing and everything there should be good at this point. If there is some changes that need to be made based on evaluation, they should be only minor changes. So yeah, evaluation and feedback from earlier on phases will prevent major shakeups from occurring and potentially lengthening the project. So this helps speed things along, since at earlier phases in the project, things were evaluated as they were being created. So this is still an iterative model with other phases of the projects moving back and forth between phases. So as some parts of the project are moving into the evaluation phase, other projects are just being created in the planning phases, design, testing. So things are all occurring at all multiple phases of the life cycle. All right, phase number 6 is implementation. I included some methodologies from the rapid application development and the agile practices. A portion and usable piece of technology will now be ready to begin being used or tested. So this could just be one piece of the software, a form, any part of the project. So part of the user acceptance training will be to allow users to get a chance to become familiar with the product or the portion of it. Similar to the testing phase before, they're just going to be using it again directly hands-on, and in this phase you would have more business users that maybe weren't previously involved with the project, but people that know less information, but the ones that would be using it on a day-to-day basis. This helps to provide quality and risk control for moving forward in the project, gives the ability to continually provide feedback and make suggestions based on their experiences with it. This is important because it will be their product, catered to their business need. It prevents project recreation at the end of the development, similar to waterfall. So addressing these issues and problems that are faced now will help save time later on and prevent things from needing to be totally recreated. So similar to the agile, a short adaptation period, user contributions throughout the process make them more knowledgeable about the products they're using, how they function. So this helps to decrease the times it takes for them to adopt and adapt to the new technology. So because they're learning as it's being created, they're going to be spending less time trying to learn it as a brand new product when it's presented to them at the end of the life cycle. Okay, if a product reaches implementation and issues arise based on client feedback, the product will then fall back into evaluation. It will be reevaluated again to determine the issues and what should be changed. If it decides that the changes do need to be made, the product will then step back again into the planning and design phase. So although this may seem like it's totally recreating similar to the waterfall method, although it does fall back to the beginning, changes being made again should be very minimal. This will ensure that the project again will move quickly through the next phases, and ideally, that aspect or portion of the project will be placed back into implementation again for users to access. Once the product is successfully implemented and no new additions need to be added, it will then be in the maintenance phase, which in project scope terms will be its last phase or final state. So the last phase, 7, is maintenance. All models will include a maintenance phase that occurs after the implementation of an iteration or after the implementation of a project as a whole. The maintenance phase will continue on as long as the product is still being used and implemented to the business or to the clients. It is possible for software to remain within the maintenance phase indefinitely until it is no longer in use or it has been replaced by a newer model or newer version. If a new project or upgrade is to occur and improve upon the existing software, items in the maintenance phase would then loop back into the planning and analysis. So it is possible that in its current state, it would be suitable for the upgrade. If that was the case, then the product would still flow through the phases and be tested to ensure that the analysis of it is correct. So it's currently in maintenance phase. They would take that portion, put it all the way back into phase 1. If they decide that the planning and analysis, it looks good as it is, it would still flow through to make sure any other things that they're trying to change in the process would still work in its current state. If changes need to be implemented, the existing software or product will be built upon again and follow all phases until successful implementation. So that is all I have for my software development lifecycle, my hybrid model, which include the 5 different models discussed early on. So next I'm going to be talking about our final project we did, which was the National Robotic Initiative Program proposal for a virtual robotics lab at YSU. As robotics technology and advancement increases, robotics have the ability to do complex tasks that were previously never to be thought of. The NRI 2.0 program is exploring how to build robots to assist people completing these tasks. A virtual laboratory at YSU will be created or proposed to be created as a space to utilize virtual robotics and increase advancement in this field. So in order to successfully receive funding for a project of this scope, a project proposal must be submitted detailing information and plans for the virtual lab. Overall, it will cover aspects such as the background and history, why this is necessary, what it will be used for, requirements necessary to implement the lab, the vision, goals, timeframes, implications, and criteria for the success of this project, and then a breakdown of the work structure that includes the web-based portion, social media, user databases, and security for the lab, both physical and virtual. And then lastly, a budget is included that would estimate the cost of the project in its entirety, including hardware, software, buildings, people involved, technologies involved, any of those items. So some of the portions that I was involved in on our team, our whole team doing this project was the entire 13 members of our Capstone 4880 class. So on the web development team, we decided to use a WordPress site that would harbor our site. It allows access to edit and maintain the site, implement web-based lab usage and request applications within the website. So what this would do is allow users to request to schedule within the lab. We decided, so for many of these aspects, our plugins are required. So WordPress has a business plan that's $300 a year. It offers unlimited storage, plugins, premium themes, remove branding. It gives Google Analytics on your page, advanced search engine optimization tools to increase your awareness throughout, Jetpack Essential features, and email and live chat support. So one of the features on the website is a calendar. This would be implemented from a WordPress DevArt plugin that will allow users to view the availability dates and time for lab usage. It will also have the capability to show dates for months in advance, and it will allow these users to book a time slot to utilize the lab directly through the calendar on the website. So they would not have to reach out or contact anybody. They could do it all on their own and look at all the dates directly on the website. Live streams, this is another plugin from Video Whisperer. This will be used to give users a one-on-one live video view of the lab that they can access if they're utilizing the lab from a remote location. So they will have full access to the lab, they will have control over the robotics, and this live stream will give them the ability to view what is exactly going on within the lab. And then lab requests will be handled through Ninja plugin, also available on WordPress. This will give users the ability to request specific components and environments that are available to be requested and used within the lab. So this form would list all the different options for different robots to use, different environments, controlled, any variables that would play a part with the robots. They have the options to choose what they will be using on their requested date. Social media components, so this was a separate team for the social media team. The aspects will allow users to stay connected and informed about the latest information pertaining to the virtual robotics lab. Included within the social media plan will be tools to allow maintaining social media pages and methods of reaching and informing new users of the virtual lab. The areas we addressed are the Facebook page, website, a Reddit and subreddit, YouTube account, Gmail account, advertising information, and then account recovery information. So the Facebook homepage will be a landing page for users to gain access about the virtual lab. Here they can find contact information, the email account if they needed to contact an admin directly, and a link that would redirect them back to the virtual lab full website. Also included on the Facebook page is a private group discussion. What this will do is allow users to be accepted by the Facebook page administrator. This is just a free community discussion of thoughts, ideas, any other information that pertains to the virtual lab. Members can invite friends into the group as well. The administrator of the Facebook page will be in charge of enforcing any rules pertaining to the post, and they can also delete any users that may be causing a disruption or causing problems within the community discussion. Facebook page also allows for reviews. So this would be a useful thing because it gives users the ability to talk about and rate their experiences with the virtual lab. This is also a place to provide suggestions for improvement as well as give kudos to the aspects of the lab that they like. So these reviews will be helpful to the administrators because these honest opinions from likewise consumers and users will be considered by potentially new users, and it can encourage use of the lab. The user feedback can also give the university some things to think about and ways to improve the lab and provide the maximum utilization of the lab and its equipment. The About tab again will just link to the website, provide basic information about lab hours, location, phone number, other important information. Contact email and phone will be included. And then Facebook promotional capabilities. So Facebook has a boost feature that allows the promotion of posts. So what this will do is the customization will include targeted geological locations, so you can choose your radius of what areas you want to reach on Facebook. You can select age ranges, a budget of money of how much you want to spend on advertisement. So this can range from roughly $3 to $50 or more, depending on duration, location, things of that nature. So, and you can also select the dates you want it to launch and when you want it to end. This is a very easy and effective way to increase awareness and spread information about the virtual lab. Okay, and finally, the project management team portion of the project. What the project management team was responsible for ultimately was to gather all the information from all the other teams. So we were the kind of the go-to source of everything being pulled together and organized as the final proposal. We ensured that the proper components and documents are included within these sections. We formatted the information appropriately to the ACM project proposal document formatting. We developed an executive summary that summarizes the important information and the overall purpose of the proposal. The proposal itself included details of the vision, goals, deliverables, project plan timeframes, risk and issues, implications, and criteria for success. So once we submit this project proposal, we will get the feedback on if this plan is feasible and other steps in going forward. Also included in the document is all of our project owners, which is all 13 members of the Fall 2017 Capstone 4880 course. Our project sponsor for this project is Professor Cameron Hughes. And that is all I have for today about my project, and I thank you.